You shoot me in my back and plant a weapon after it's done. How much time you get for killing me? The answer is none. You ain't from around here, so why don't you just go back where you're from?
Two little boys came and knocked on my door. They said the police just shot your son twice in his stomach.
Hey yo, them Robocops just tear gas the protest, and you don't wanna fight back. Congratulations, my nigga, you passed the whole test. Just another mail in need of some Kotex. You'll be fitted for the rope next. They gon' hang you up just like coat checks. They killed your people in front of you. What you wanna do? You already know what I'm gonna do. Pick up a gun or two. You picking up your sneakers like runners do, but where you running to? Ain't nowhere to hide when your own cowardice is hunting you. Take a look at yourself, man. Your mirror got the.
What's going on, y'all? It's Jay Moore, back with another video to try and help you guys out there who are struggling with these child support people, trying to get them off your back, trying to get out of this unlawful contract. It's been real hard lately. I believe the emergence of Ahmed Osiris and Rick W. has probably brought on an onslaught of people filing petitions and stuff like that. I imagine that there's always been a small number of people that have been doing this, but now I guess since there's probably so many lately, they're trying to just deflect as many possible people as possible away, or get them to think that they're incorrect and get them to give up, and they're just trying to basically minimize the damage that's coming from this wave of people that are trying to get their rights back. But I feel like eventually, guys, if you stay consistent and don't give up, don't get discouraged, and keep fighting, eventually they're just gonna have to let you through. It's the law. It's in black and white. At some point, if you push hard enough, you're gonna break through. Because again, like I said, they can only ignore the law for so long. So that's why I played this guy right here, King Crooked. If you heard of him, his lyrics are insane. I love the way he puts his music together. But this album right here is actually all about, the type of things we're discussing here with how our government is, defrauding us and stripping us of our rights without us even really realizing it, or trying to diminish or take away our rights at any given time. They're always working on that. So this guy touches on that a lot in this album here. And if you heard what he said right there, he said, your own cowardice is in front of you or whatever. So for those of y'all that are kind of scared to go in here and do this, well, I'm going to play some stuff for you that should help you out. I had a little bit of fear, but not too much. Not enough for me to really slow me down from doing what I need to do. I was going in there regardless. I wasn't sitting around waiting because of my fear or anything. But some of you might, and I don't blame anybody for feeling that way. Especially if you've had some horrible experiences in the past with being inside a courtroom, and all that, or with the law. So this guy, he comes off really aggressive, and this is my overall, interpretation of his album, is he's coming off, on the surfaces, we got to fight back, and we got to stand up and kind of, in a violent manner, get this done. I honestly think, though, because he drops a couple of hints about, basically your rights, and like I get the impression that this guy knows how to use the law to protect his rights. He talks a lot about the Second Amendment and the guns he has, as a result of enforcing that Second Amendment right. He talks about how your paperwork can free you. He says it really kind of cleverly to like slip it in, but if you listen, he's basically telling you once you master the pen or your pen game or getting in these courts or your paperwork or filing the correct things, you can get your rights restored. That's basically what it sounded like he was saying. And if any of y'all check that out, which I recommend you do, so it's a dope album. Look out for that. You'll after you kind of untangle how he flows and understand what he's saying, because he is kind of deep with it sometimes. You'll hear what he's talking about. And I believe he's telling y'all we can do this with paperwork and representing ourselves in court properly. And that could be a revolution right there. If enough people figure this out, stick with it, don't be scared of it at all, and just try it, man. Try to get, fight, do what you need to do to get your rights back. If you're reading on this paper or whatever law you're reading is saying one thing and they're not explaining or allowing you to be able to enforce what that law says, then keep working and keep trying to figure out what the problem is. Because unless they can give you a justifiable reason that makes sense and is proved by some type of law, if they're not doing that to answer your question, they're lying to you and something's wrong. Maybe you're not doing something quite right, but don't let that stop you, because they're definitely tightening up right now, guys. So I was watching the sovereign citizen videos yesterday, and it was kind of funny. I don't know, I've never seen it before. I'm kind of glad I didn't see them before, because some of them they made it sound really scary, getting into some of this stuff. Even though I'm not a sovereign citizen, what I realized by watching this is that when I go into the courtroom with my paperwork and I'm basically standing up for my rights, that's probably what they're looking at me as. They're looking at me, they're classifying me in this group of people that they've put on the news and stuff. And I'm going to show you a couple videos. They put on the news and stuff, and they make them look really crazy. They make them look like they're super dangerous and all that. And I was like, man, that kind of sucks. That I'm nothing like some of these people at all. I just want my rights back. But they're probably looking at me like that. But then I thought, you know what though? No, because I believe that there's other people out here that understand how to use the court system correctly to retrieve their rights, and they're probably just very private about it. They probably maybe have tried in the past to tell people about it, but if you've tried to tell anybody about it, you know how the look you usually get when you start to talk about something like this to the common person. It is like you're just speaking a total different language. So those people are probably private. They know how to get in and out and get what they need done. They probably never even had to mess with child support. There's people out there that know. And I bet you they don't have any problems. I bet you they get their stuff taken care of. It's kind of swept under the rug. And, they don't make a lot of noise and nobody bothers them. But it's these people that they're showing in these videos here that they want to classify, as real, real bad and real crazy and dangerous people, the sovereign citizens. When in reality, the only real thing I see about the common thing I see about them that differentiates them from me, because all they're really doing is enforcing whatever right they feel they have, which is what I'm doing. But it's about how they go about it. It's very aggressive in nature, and I think maybe that's what's carrying the bad stigma about these people. Well, let's get into the first one here, and these are kind of entertaining, I thought too. But just so you understand, when you start to try to enforce any of your rights, with child support or whatever, this is probably what people are going to think right away. So how can we conduct ourselves or go about this whole thing, so that we don't have a whole lot of people looking at us like you know, we're one of these sovereign citizen people.
To fend off Uncle Sam.
I'm going to go in and speak with the prosecutor.
It's 8:20 on a Monday morning at the county courthouse in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
You can't come in with the camera.
And the 21-year-old operating this video camera is trying to bring it into the courtroom where he's contesting a minor ticket.
I don't know what the hell law book you're reading, man, but it doesn't apply to me.
Watch what happens next.
I'm going in.
No, you're not going in.
Don't touch me.
You're not going in, sir.
Let the record show that you just battered me.
Step back.
And you're using... Stop, please. I'm not doing anything wrong.
His name is...
First of all, let me just say I hate punk-ass dudes like that. That big-ass dude. And he pulls out that stun gun and he don't give him even hardly any time. And he just shoots him. Just because he's a punk and he wanted to shoot somebody that day. Big faggot.
Robert Peterson, and he says getting tased is a small price to pay for his belief that the American government has no authority over him.
What do you use it for?
Just target shooting right now. I haven't had to shoot anything yet.
So you would never take a reaction that was like shooting cops or...
If they shoot at me first, then shooting back would be a good reaction.
Robert is one of the latest and youngest people to latch on to many of the beliefs of a growing underground movement known as sovereign citizens. People who do not believe that many of the basic laws of this country apply to them.
I'm not an American citizen. I do not recognize these. I am my counsel.
They have disrupted courtrooms, led police on high-speed chases, and even engaged in murderous shootouts with authorities.
Oh, my God.
There are an estimated 300,000 sovereign citizens in America. The FBI classifies them as a domestic terrorist movement. Many of these people followed a scary progression from passionate but peaceful to ultra-violent. So when we saw this video on YouTube, we wondered, were we witnessing the...
See how they say ultraviolet? And then they show him getting shot, though. They show the guy the guy who's supposed to be violent getting shot for no reason. But they're just trying to spin it in such a way to make it look like people stand up for the rights are so terrible.
Radicalization of a 21-year-old on his way to violence.
You guys are really overstepping your bounds right now.
When we tracked him down, we found a young man who, on the surface at least, appears average. He lives in his mom's house with his two younger brothers. He rides his bike. But he also straps on a pistol every time he leaves the house, which is perfectly legal here in Idaho, and openly declares the local police to be his enemy.
Unfortunately, yes, they're the enemy. They're the enemy of anybody who wants to live free.
Produce the information that I require, or you will be placed under arrest for obstructing.
Robert's long series of run-ins with the cops began when he was 18 and got busted for making fireworks. That's when he went online and stumbled into a whole strange subterranean world of sovereign citizen ideology, which argues that the American government is actually a corporation profiting off of us, and that it is not necessary in many cases to pay taxes or get a driver's license.
See how crazy they make that sound? Now all that stuff is 100% true. But they make it sound like it's the most bizarre thing they ever heard of in their life. I mean, finding out that the United States is a corporation is one of the easiest things to understand. It's everywhere. So, but, you know, I had never looked into this stuff before, and so if I was just watching this program, not knowing anything about the laws or anything like most people do, it would just sound ridiculous.
Can't you see where people who've never been associated with this material before might look at this and say, this is just kind of weird?
Not really.
Robert's mother worries her son's beliefs will get him killed.
How do you see this thing ending?
Hard to say. My fear is that it's going to end with him getting shot. That's my ultimate, what I believe is going to happen.
Do you agree with your mother that your philosophy might end up getting you killed?
It could, yeah. But I'm willing to live with that or die with that.
It is certainly true that putting his beliefs into practice has produced non-stop conflict.
You have a gun, like I said, because I'm talking to you. makes me a little nervous.
This is Robert arguing with officers giving him a ticket for riding his bike at night without a light.
Am I being charged with a crime yet?
Here he is trying to take his gun into a courthouse.
Hey, will you authorize me to come in here? With my gun?
No.
So for 22...
Now, I don't know why the hell he did that, though. See, that's somebody who takes this shit over the line. You know, that's the type of stuff that's definitely going to get you labeled a sovereign citizen. Even though he went and he asked politely and all that, you know, come on, man.
2-year-old, it's pretty extensive rap sheet.
He's certainly spent more time than most here at 22 years of age, that's for sure.
Do you worry that this is heading perhaps inexorably in a bad direction?
Well, we hope not, but we need to be aware who he is and his ideology, just in case that manifests itself into a problem down the road.
Now, see what that sheriff said, though? You know, one thing you guys got to understand is who knows what's really going on and who doesn't. A sheriff, for the most part, is going to know all about this stuff. So if you notice, he chose his words carefully, and he pretty much said, though, you know, the guy's not doing anything wrong. We're just going to be aware of him, you know, just like they're aware of everybody else. And, you know, he didn't say that he's been committing any crimes or somebody that they need to get in line right away. He knows the deal. Just so, I mean, as you just start seeing and noticing stuff like that as you get deeper into this information, you can hear what people are saying, especially like politicians and stuff, even when they're not saying it. You know, that legalese type stuff.
Now there is something in the chamber.
After months of bucking the system, the day Robert had been waiting for arrived. He was going back to the very same court where he was tased to face charges stemming from that incident.
Pre-trial conference. I don't really know what's going to happen other than they're going to probably offer me another deal, and I'll probably refuse it.
He was facing 2 years in jail for battery and contempt of court.
Put your stuff through the machine, take your hat off.
You don't have a warrant for this, do you?
No, I don't.
Step forward. Arms out, please.
There was extra security on hand, including the bailiff who tased Robert.
You're using...
You don't ever want to do that to anybody, but our job is to protect the people and not cause the defendant harm or anything, you know. You always hate doing things like that.
Inside the courtroom, Robert's defiance continued.
If I could have you remove your hat, that'd be great.
No, thanks.
Respect for the court. They want him to take his hat off, but I get it. He doesn't have respect for the court.
He finally took off his hat, and the judge set a trial date 3 days later. But the next day, Robert was called back in front of the judge to discuss a possible deal. Look what happened when he refused to rise.
It's against my beliefs.
I will find you in contempt if you don't rise, sir.
All right, I will rise.
Look at that little punk ass judge. Knowing the only reason he's acting like that because the camera's there, and he don't want the people who ever watch this video to see that if you're bold enough, you can sit right there and you don't gotta listen to a word they say. They're nothing. They're here to serve us, but unfortunately, at this point in time, the days we live in, it's probably not the best idea if you want to get your remedy to act that way. But you can, because he can't do nothing to him. Look at it. He's threatening him, but you know, I'm pretty sure if he threw him in jail, that would be illegal for refusing to stand.
Under protest, then.
Fine.
See what he says? He says, "Okay, I'll stand under protest then." And what does the judge say? He says, "Fine," because he's like, "Thank you, I'll take that." The judge is happy he stood up and didn't make him look like a fool anymore. But yeah, that's how it goes. You notice this guy's not getting in any trouble.
In the end, Robert took the deal the prosecutors were offering. No jail, but he knows his struggle is not over.
Now you heard what they said. They say he was facing 2 years for battery, and then now it's no jail all of a sudden. They said he took the deal of no jail. Well, of course. But under what circumstances are they just handing out deals to people? No, this dude knew how to go in there and protect himself with the law. I guarantee it. Even though he looks like an idiot, I guarantee he went in there and he protected himself properly, and they couldn't do anything. They might have made it seem like they offered him a deal, but obviously no jail. I mean, that's not really a deal to me. That sounds like you won. But that's how they're trying to spin it. You know, of course, they don't want people to know.
Do you expect this to be your last run-in with the law?
Probably not, no.
Now Robert says he plans to sue the government.
All right, so that was that first video. And the couple of things I just wanted to point out about that was kind of just to show. First of all, I mean, you have to read between the lines. But you've seen how he acted towards these people, and nothing happened to him. Now, I'm not really recommending this type of attitude you take towards these judges and, you know, officials and all that. But it just does solidify that it can kind of break that fear for you that this is real. They don't, you know, when you start getting a little bold and telling them, excuse me, that's against the law, that doesn't mean they're going to smack you across the face right away. For the most part, they're going to back up and start thinking for a second before they do anything. But as you can see, again, this guy stood up. Everything worked out fine. Now, but at the end of the day, they labeled him a sovereign citizen. They made him look crazy. So, again, guys, when you're doing, and again, he did nothing wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. But he was standing up for his rights, which is what you're doing if you're you're trying to get child support out of your life, or if you're involved in trying to get any other unlawful, violation of a statute thrown out. But now this is just a classic example of why we definitely want to separate ourselves from this sovereign citizen label as quickly as we can. And let me just say this, because I've heard of people going in there and they get a hard time with their paperwork. They get a hard time in the courtroom and all that. But for the most part, even though I got a little bit aggressive in my first hearing only because I already knew I had lost procedurally, because they had kind of let me know that towards the beginning. So I already knew I had lost, so I had took that opportunity to let them know, I'm not falling for none of your tricks. I was objecting a lot. I was, cutting the judge off when she would say something crazy. She got upset. She said if I was a lawyer, she could find me in contempt. So I guess that, to me that meant that she can't find me in contempt because I'm not a lawyer. That's what it sounded like. So, but I chilled out a little bit, but still, at the end of the day, I took that opportunity to just let them know, like, hey, I'm not going for your bullshit responses and answers. I want some real answers. Now, the second time I came in, I figured out what the procedural problem is. I came in, and I was more calm throughout the whole thing because I felt like I had proved my point, and I could tell the judge was nervous about how I was going to act, and it seemed like she was relieved. She even commented in her opinion after that second proceeding that I was, nice to the court and the attorney, the opposing attorney or whatever. As if that even needs to be stated. What difference does that have to make about whether or not my argument about the law was correct? They don't ever really talk about that too much. They like to talk about other stuff. But anyways, so I've never really felt like I've been looked at too much or for too long as a sovereign citizen. They never, that second proceeding went pretty smooth. I think when I go in there again next Monday, I'm probably not going to have any problems with her, not really showing me any respect or anything, or not wanting to cooperate, but I feel like I am more, have established myself more as just like, I don't know what people think about me when I go in there, but you could tell like most of them now know that I've been, there's something going on with me, and that demeanor kind of changes a little bit, but it's still for the most part respectful exchanges. And, I'm not having anybody look at me like these two cops are looking at these guys. But this is pretty interesting. Well, let's watch this.
Using the ID? Yes. Really? Okay. Who's got a camera? Can someone take a picture of this?
Yeah.
You got plenty.
He's being denied his witnesses right now.
He's being denied his witnesses, which is denial of due process, which makes everything that's said is completely void.
Get some names here. Anybody want to give their names so we got witness that these guys
why your names aren't on There's about 30 witnesses right now. I'm requesting 2 pieces of ID from each public official, and you're refusing it.
There's about 30 witnesses. We might not all be on your side.
Terry has been denied witnesses in the courtroom.
Yeah, and they've refused, both officers have refused ID.
Police officers guarding the
courtroom. So you're
courtroom.
acting as a private citizen right now, right? So you're blocking it. Well, you're refusing ID. And if you don't answer me, then you've just tacitly agreed that you're refusing me ID. Right? You do it to us, right?
He's blocking. I know. They're blocking. Go through the door.
Yeah, they're blocking.
We're just standing there.
In a public courtroom. It's the people's court.
You guys don't even know what you're doing. We're fighting for freedom for all of us. You guys included, your family. Your kids, our grandchildren, the ancestors that fought and died in the wars for our freedom. You guys are spitting on
sergeant in the army. He's not over in Afghanistan so that you guys can prevent people from their rights.
You guys are spitting on our ancestors' graves. They fought for freedom and died. Our grandparents, our great uncles, you can name them all. And you guys are fucking communist China. That's what you guys are acting like right now. Hope you're proud. Tacitly agreed they're communist China.
Okay. As you can see, these people are very aggressive. Now, technically, I'm sure, they're not really saying a lot of incorrect things, but the fact of the matter is, guys, this is one thing you have to realize, is they're pretty much going to do what they want. As far as government officials and all that, you're not going to get them to, do what you want just because you're talking the law to them. And when this idiot says something like, they just tacitly agreed that they're in communist China, that shows that this type of knowledge has gotten into the wrong hands. This guy doesn't even understand that tacit agreement only applies when someone has an obligation to answer you, bro. That was one of the craziest statements I've ever heard. And as a public official, yes, he does actually have an obligation to answer you for the most part, but these people don't understand that. So you just sounded like a total nut job when first you've been sounding like one probably from the beginning to him, because he doesn't understand any of it. And then you say that shit about tacit agreement. And, come on, man. You gotta, the law has gotten into the wrong hands in this case. But again, just an example of, this is definitely the behavior we want to be avoiding. The term I like to use is private. Trying to operate privately. When you go in there, you don't want to be making a big fuss. If the clerk or something's not wanting to file your paperwork, maybe just try to have a conversation, get that information out of her as to why. Try to be as civil as possible, even though I know, guys, I definitely want to go in there and start smacking some people. But I just know, obviously, I would never do that. But I just know that type of attitude is not gonna get me what I want. It's probably gonna hinder me. So you have to go in there, and it's hard for me, but you gotta be fake. You gotta be cordial with these evil people, and you really pretty much gotta handle yourself professionally, or you're basically giving them an excuse. to not hear what you have to say. And these people right here, definitely a good example of the type of behavior you want to avoid, or you will be labeled a sovereign citizen and be classified in the same class as these guys right here. There was another video, I believe. Oh yes, okay. Now let's check this guy out. This guy, I actually heard him, and he was another person that, him and a few other videos of when I first started, of watching people in court, and you know, I've never heard anybody act like this in court, but this is what helped me realize that, man, nothing's happening to these guys. Like, what, how is this happening? And then, you know, as I started to realize and learn more, first of all, they were right. And then second of all, it just like gave me extra courage. Like, man, I don't even have to be, I'm not even planning to act anything near what these guys are, so I shouldn't have a problem at all. And for the most part, I haven't.
Public defender. Did you apply for the public defender?
What use have I for a voice of ruin? They can only speak fictitious legalese to you. I speak natural living man's English to you. It's called common English. That's the only thing that I work in.
That's fine.
There will be no legalese used here.
Well, you were charged on the 31st of August of 2013 with obstructing a police officer in violation of 457302. You were also charged on the same date with resisting arrest in violation of 457301 of the Montana Code.
Those men were charged by me right back by staging an overthrow of the Constitution of 1789, an overthrow of the Bill of Rights, an overthrow of my rights to forage for food as a natural living person who was in hunger. I was searching for something to put in my stomach, as I am recognized to be allowed to do by universal law. Has nothing to do with your corporate fiction. They violated everything, and furthermore, for your knowledge, they violated Judge Holly Brown's Title 26 United States Code ruling, which I went before her and prevailed on 21st March 2011. EPO 9-58A is the case number wherein she evidenced that I am not a taxpayer because I am not a federal citizen. Federal law trumps state law at every turn. I have 9 judge rulings to that end, and that trumps state law. I am not registered crap. I am the living man, and I have the right to forage for food when I'm hungry.
All right.
Now, he was actually 100% correct in everything he said. But man, this guy is basically freestyling. I definitely wouldn't want to go in there my first few times, or even he's probably been doing this for a while. So this probably isn't a good example of how to go in there and just, he don't have no paper in front of him or nothing. He's just rattling off. He knows how to have a conversation about the law without having to look down at anything he knows, and he can break it down in a very layman terms, which is what he did, talking about I got a right to go get food, whatever. I'm assuming basically what he's saying is I was driving my car to go get some food, and that's my right, and they're trying to put a traffic violation on me. That's what it sounds like was happening. But so probably not a good example of how you want to go in there trying to talk with the judge. But this guy can do this because he probably knows the law so well. But I do believe this guy eventually got jammed up pretty good, or ended up going to prison, or something happened. I don't know if he ended up getting out of it or what, but eventually, because they didn't like this guy, man, because he was kicking their ass like this. And they probably, fabricated something to finally, get him thrown in jail or whatever they had did to him.
But you're here on different charges.
This
is not Holly Brown's courtroom.
Ma'am, you can argue this all day long. You're operating on corporate fiction.
I'm telling you, you're here on some charges which were filed in the reports.
I do not
Number
understand
one,
those charges.
Number one, you keep interrupting me, and I'm going to charge you with contempt, and you'll go to
Oh,
jail.
contempt of court is spelled C-O-double-N. I know about counting. That's navigation.
Sir,
Contempt is the storm.
I said, be
Don't
quiet
touch me.
until I get
Don't
through
touch me.
reading this
You
to
ain't a
you.
gun. Don't
Officer?
you touch me. I am the living man protected by universal law.
You keep
stand
talking,
down.
and you're going to be charged with contempt, and you're going to go to jail.
You have already contempted this place.
No, I told
by
you
the
I
fraud
would if
you
you
are
didn't
trying to
quit
get done
talking.
here. These are the living witnesses to what you're trying to do.
Very
You
good.
are trying to create a fictitious fraudulent action. You are trying to bilk the Federal Reserve by
Sir?
securitizing in all caps commercialized name
Sir?
and
Would you
notifying
remove
them
him from the
that
courtroom?
they are standing in debt now. If you touch me, you will violate natural law. Do not come near me. I am
Then
protected
shush,
by the land.
shush.
Do not tell me to shut up.
Okay, I definitely don't recommend you do that. But this guy, he got away with it, man. He was talking crazy to these people. But, and also, I do want to point out, because I've seen him in another video, this guy does file paperwork, though. So, he's not just going in there and talking crazy like that. He does have paperwork in there to back it up, guys. So, I just don't want anybody to get that impression. But, again, that just shows you can get away with some stuff in this courtroom. So I wouldn't be going in there trying any of this. Because, again, this is kind of making a lot of drama and stuff. I'd be trying to get my paperwork so tight. And I've heard of people, some people out there like that. Their paperwork is so tight. They're in and out. Sometimes they come there, they just tell them right away it was dismissed, or they get a dismissal in the mail beforehand. I would prefer to do that. It is kind of fun in there, battling with these crooked ass, people. But at the end of the day, it still sucks when, you go home without what you want. 'Cause it's tough, man. They make it really tough. Got a lot of tricks and all that good stuff to keep them on the winning side. So, I believe that was really all I was going to show you guys. Especially for the new people. You want to find a way to separate yourself. I believe the best way to do that is just by your conduct, how you carry yourself when you go in there. Go in there just like anybody else would, and just tell them what you need. If you're not quite sure what you need, ask a couple questions. I ask questions in there all the time. And for the most part, they're pretty helpful. And yeah, these are just regular people, guys. So if you want, you can go in there and talk crazy like this fool. I don't recommend it, but the fact of the matter is, you have ownership of that court, and they know that. And when you come in there with this type of information, they're not going to be so quick just to throw you in jail, because they know that you understand the law a little bit now, and they can't just be throwing you in jail, because they might have to pay for that, because they don't know who they're dealing with now, because you've discovered the truth. So they typically don't they don't mess with you in that type of way when you enforce your rights. But they might not give you what you want, but don't be afraid to go in there and let them know that you know what's going on, and you need them to correct this problem, and you need your whatever child support case or whatever other fraudulent statute they're trying to enforce on you. You don't have to be afraid. The one thing I wanted to get into before I close it out, we're gonna go back to the Bible on this one, because I feel like this passage right here, it also kind of reinforces that when you approach things the right way, which is the way I recommend, is through your conduct, your humbleness, and just having the correct, or saying the correct things, or having the correct information. You don't have to be afraid to interact with these people. And so in this scenario here, you know, this is Abraham talking to God. As if you know the story about Sodom and Gomorrah, it was a disgusting place in God's eyes because it was I guess it was really rampant in homosexuality and all that. And so this is a story anyways, whether you guys believe it or not. You know, I don't want anybody to be offended, but that's the fact of the matter is that's what was going on, and this is why in this passage God was getting ready to destroy this place. But Abraham, in his human emotions, he felt like maybe that was too harsh of a punishment. So he's basically asking God here to reconsider. Now, so this is Abraham, and he's talking to God. And he's asking him to change his mind. So I know these judges probably think they're gods, but they're not. Certainly if this common man, Abraham, could approach God and ask him for redress or something like that, certainly we can go in these courtrooms and should not have fear at all. But here, we have to come in there a certain way, and this is how we did it. All right. We're gonna start at verse 26. So he's asking him, what if you can find 50 people? You know, will he not destroy the city if you can find 50? Verse 26 says, the Lord said, if I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Then Abraham spoke up again. Now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, though I am nothing but dust and ashes, what if the number of the righteous is 5 less than 50? Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5 people? If I find 45 there, he said, I will not destroy it. Once again he spoke to him. What if only 40 are found there? He said, for the sake of 40 I will not do it. Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak. What if only 30 can be found there? He answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Abraham said, now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, what if only 20 can be found there? He said, for the sake of 20 I will not destroy it. Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak just once more. What if only 10 can be found there? He answered, for the sake of 10 I will not destroy it. When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. So, what we're supposed to get out of that, guys, is you see how many times he asked him. He was going, he asked him at least 5, 6 times. Now, he's asking, this is a choice that this is the God he's talking to. God had made the choice that he's going to destroy this city. And you're questioning his choice, really. This is what Abraham's basically doing, asking him to reconsider. So that in itself is kind of a scary thing. So, I mean, he's talking to him, and he's basically, before he even asks, he asked for forgiveness for him even speaking to him because he knows he is so far below him. He doesn't want to make God think that he thinks any higher of himself, but he wants to ask. He wants a prayer of relief for how he feels about the situation. In 32, I believe he says, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak just once more. See, that's how you do it. Like when I played Rick W for you guys, that's exactly how he was talking, just in modern day. You don't have to speak like these olden times or olden terms, but the fact is, the point is, you really kind of have to humble yourself, and this is just how I feel. You guys can go about it any way you want. This is how I approach it, and you have to, like, if you want to object multiple times on maybe the same thing, maybe you want to have an objection 2 or 3 times in a row to them not proving your subject matter jurisdiction. Well, maybe on the second and third time, after they've already, overruled your objection, you can say, please excuse me, I don't want you to be upset or anything, but I just need a little clarification. Can you please clarify for me again why you have not given me a clear definition of the subject matter jurisdiction this court is working under? And when you put it to them like that, it's going to be very hard for them to just not answer you again, even though they might give you another bullshit answer. But that's how you put the pressure on these people. I really think this is the way to go. If this is how a man petitions God, well then surely it should work just as well for a human when you're addressing another human, just a judge, someone who's really supposed to be below you. But because of how our world is today, if you want your remedy, I recommend you not stir up too much trouble if you can. You know what I mean? Not irritate that judge. Do that the least amount you can, but you still gotta balance that fine line of being firm in your belief. And you're gonna have to, because they're always gonna try to move past something you say once or twice. You might have to ask them 3 times. And so this is a good way right here to maybe petition for the second or third time for them to clarify something. Maybe instead of the angry approach, which I know is frustrating, and like I said, you want to jump up on the table and give them one good slap and tell them to wake up, but you can't do that. And so I feel like this is a great approach. Just a tip for you guys. This is how I approach the situation. I try to just be very humble but firm. Humble but firm. That's really the key. So, all right, guys. Remember, we don't want to get put into that class of sovereign citizen. There's a ton of those videos, guys, and the way they do it, they make those people look horrible. Even though pretty much all the videos are right, there are some people that just don't know what they're talking about. They're incorrect. But for the most part, them people are 100% right, but they all get treated like dirt or made to look very stupid in these videos. So let's not get put in that class of people. Let's try to avoid that the best we can, and let's keep learning, figure out how to get past this barrier that this crooked Title 4D agency has thrown up lately. Not letting a lot of us through, even though they know the law is clear. Just playing us around, jerking us around and playing games. So, all right, guys, we're gonna end it there. Peace out.